Not gradually, not slowly, all at once. Like someone hit a mute button on 300 men eating lunch. Mike Tyson is sitting alone at a corner table. Plastic tray, mystery meat, mashed potatoes, green beans that aren't really green anymore. His first meal in prison. March 26, 1992. Indiana Youth Center. He's been here exactly 4 hours that he's not eating, just moving food around with a plastic fork, looking at nothing, thinking about everything, about how he went from heavyweight champion of the world to inmate B 47180 in less than a year, about how the cell door sounds when it closes, that final metallic click that says you don't decide anything anymore. Not when you eat, not when you sleep, not when you breathe. The other inmates have been watching him since he walked in. Some with curiosity, some with respect, some with something else, something darker. Because in prison, reputation means nothing. Celebrity means nothing. What matters is what you're willing to do, what you're capable of, whether you're a predator or prey. And right now, someone is about to test Mike Tyson. His name is Curtis Jackson, not the rapper. Different Curtis Jackson. This one is 6 feet 6 inches, 290 pounds of muscle and scar tissue. Former enforcer for a Detroit crew, serving 15 years for aggravated assault. He runs this yard, runs this cafeteria, runs everything the guards don't see. For 3 years, he's been the apex predator in this ecosystem. But now there's a new animal in the cage. Curtis stands up from his table. The movement is deliberate, performative. Everyone watches. This is theater. This is Curtis reminding everyone who's in charge. He picks up his tray, walks across the cafeteria. Slow, taking his time, boots heavy on the concrete floor. Each step echoing. Tyson doesn't look up, doesn't acknowledge, just keeps moving food around his tray with that plastic fork. Curtis stops right behind him, towers over him, casts a shadow across Tyson's table. Then he slams his tray down next to Tyson's. The sound cracks through the silence like a gunshot. Metal on metal. Food bouncing. Milk carton tipping over. Tyson's fork stops moving. You're my world now, celebrity. Curtis's voice is deep. Carries across the cafeteria. Every word carefully chosen for maximum audience impact. Boxing don't mean shit in here. That's when Mike Tyson slowly puts down his fork. The movement is so controlled, it's almost mechanical. Fork touching tray without sound. Hands flat on the table. Then Tyson turns his head. Not his body, just his head. Looks up at Curtis Jackson with eyes that don't blink. Officer Williams is watching from the elevated platform 30 feet away. His hand moves toward his pepper spray. His partner keys the radio. Backup is coming, but it won't get here fast enough. Whatever's about to happen will be over before anyone can intervene. Curtis is grinning. That predator grin. The look of a man who's done this 100 times. Established dominance in front of crowds. Broken bigger men than this with words and presence and the willingness to go further than anyone else. He leans down, gets closer to Tyson's face. Invading space. Asserting control. You hear me, pretty boy? You were somebody out there. In here, you're nothing. You're fresh meat. And you're going to learn real quick how this works. Tyson stands, not fast. Not aggressive, just rises from his seat in one smooth motion. And suddenly Curtis realizes that something's wrong. Because Tyson isn't standing up to back down or run away. Tyson is standing up to eliminate the height advantage. And at 5 feet 10 inches, Tyson is still looking up at Curtis's 6 feet 6 inches frame, but the gap doesn't feel as big anymore. Somehow Tyson's presence fills the space in a way that size can't measure. Curtis's grin falters. Just for a second. Just a flicker. Tyson takes one step forward. Now they're chest to chest. Well, chest to sternum. Curtis still has 6 inches of height. But something shifted. The power dynamic has changed. And everyone in that cafeteria feels it. Sit down. Tyson says 0.2 words. Spoken quietly. Almost a whisper. But the way he says them. The absolute certainty. The complete lack of doubt or fear or negotiation. Those 2 words aren't a request. And not a challenge. They're a statement of fact about what's about to happen. Curtis laughs. Has to. Because backing down now means losing everything he's built in 3 years. means showing weakness in front of 300 witnesses. So he laughs and pushes forward, gets even closer, his chest against Tyson's, using his size, using his weight. Or what, celebrity? You gonna box me? Throw your little punches with your... That's when it happens that Tyson's eyes change. Not his expression, not his face, just his eyes. Something behind him shifts, like a door opening to a room that's been locked. And what comes out of that room isn't human, isn't civilized, isn't anything Curtis has ever seen before in 3 years of running this yard and 15 years of hurting people for money. Curtis stops talking. Mid-sentence. His mouth is still open, but no sound comes out, because Mike Tyson isn't looking at him anymore. Tyson is looking through him, past him, into him, seeing something Curtis has spent his whole life trying to hide. Seeing the scared kid from Detroit who got beat by his father. Seeing the teenager who joined a crew because he was too afraid to be alone. Seeing every moment of fear Curtis has covered up with violence and size and reputation. Tyson leans in, doesn't blink, doesn't break eye contact, speaks so quietly that only Curtis can hear. But everyone in the cafeteria sees Curtis's face change, sees the color drain, sees something break. Sit down before I make you. 6 words, whispered, almost gentle, but the way Tyson says, make you, carries 30 years of violence. Carries Cuz D'Amato, teaching him to be a weapon. Carries 40 professional fights where he erased men from consciousness. Carries something deeper, something that existed before boxing. Something that boxing just gave permission to Curtis's legs start shaking. Actually shaking. Visible tremors running through 290 pounds of muscle. His breathing changes, becomes shallow, quick, panic breathing. His hands, which are balled into fists, slowly open. Hang at his sides. Useless. This isn't a stare down. This isn't dominance. This is something else entirely. This is Curtis Jackson, who's hurt people, who's broken bones, who's put men in hospitals, looking into the eyes of something he doesn't understand. Something that makes every instinct he has scream, run 0.4 seconds. That's how long the eye contact lasts. For seconds of Tyson showing Curtis something without saying it, without threatening it. Just showing him what exists behind those eyes if Curtis makes Tyson open that door all the way. Curtis steps back. 1 step, then another. His tray is still on Tyson's table. He doesn't reach for it, doesn't say anything, just backs away with his hands slightly raised in an unconscious gesture of submission. The cafeteria is dead silent. 300 men watching Curtis Jackson, the man who's ruled this place for 3 years, back away from Mike Tyson without a punch being thrown, without violence, without anything except 4 seconds of eye contact that broke something inside Curtis that can't be fixed. Curtis turns, walks away, not to his table, toward the exit, toward the guards. His crew at his table looks confused, betrayed, angry, but Curtis doesn't look at them, doesn't acknowledge them, just walks straight to Officer Williams. I want solitary, Curtis says. His voice is shaking. Right now, I want protective custody. Williams stares at him. What happened? Did he threaten you? No. Curtis is breathing hard. He didn't do anything. That's the problem. I looked at him, and I saw something I can't unsee. I need to be away from him. Please. Williams has been a prison guard for 11 years. He's seen men break, seen them cry, seen them beg, but he's never seen a man like Curtis Jackson, the apex predator of Indiana Youth Center, look genuinely terrified without being touched. Curtis, if Tyson threatened you, I need you to. He didn't threaten me. Curtis's voice cracks. He just looked at me, and I understood. I understood what he is, what he's capable of. And I can't be in the same room as that. I'm not paid enough for this. I'm not built for this. I thought I knew violence. I thought I understood dangerous men. I was wrong. Williams calls for backup, takes Curtis to segregation, writes a report about an incident in the cafeteria that somehow didn't involve violence, but resulted in the facility's most dangerous inmate requesting protective custody from someone who never touched him. Back in the cafeteria, Tyson sits down, picks up his fork, continues eating like nothing happened. The 300 inmates are still silent, still processing what they just witnessed. The story will spread through the prison by dinner. will become legend by morning, will be told and retold for years. The man who broke Curtis Jackson without throwing a punch. The man whose eyes contained something so terrifying that the toughest inmate in the facility chose solitary confinement over being in the same room with him. But here's what nobody knows. What doesn't get told in the legend? What Tyson thinks about as he finishes his mystery meat and mashed potatoes. He didn't want to do that. The person he showed Curtis wasn't someone Tyson's proud of. It was the person Cuz D'Amato found in a Brooklyn youth facility. The person who'd been beaten and abused and traumatized until something inside him broke and became something else. Something dangerous. Something that Cuz spent years teaching him to control, to channel, to cage. And for 4 seconds, Tyson let Curtis see into that cage. Let him see what lives there. What's always lived there. What Tyson has spent his adult life keeping locked away, because once it comes out, it doesn't want to go back in. That night, in his cell, Tyson's cellmate Marcus asks what happened. Everyone's talking about it. About Curtis requesting segregation. About how Tyson made the biggest predator in the facility afraid without violence. What did you say to him? Marcus asks. What did you do? Tyson is lying on his bunk, staring at the ceiling. The cell door is locked. That sound, that final click that says freedom is gone. He thinks about Curtis backing away, about the fear in his eyes, about how easy it was to put that fear there. I didn't do anything, Tyson says quietly. I just let him see me, the real me, the part one keep hidden, and he couldn't handle it. But what is that? What did he see? Tyson doesn't answer for a long time. When he finally speaks, his voice is soft, sad. He saw what I'm afraid of too. 3 days later, Curtis Jackson is moved to a different facility at his request. He tells the warden he can't be in the same prison as Mike Tyson. Not because of threats, not because of violence, because of what he saw in those 4 seconds. Years later, after his release, Curtis becomes a youth counselor in Detroit, works with at-risk kids, tries to steer them away from the life he lived. Sometimes when kids ask about his toughest moment, about when he was really scared, he tells them about Mike Tyson. I thought I was dangerous, Curtis says. Thought I understood violence. Thought I was the baddest thing in any room. Then I met someone who showed me the difference between someone who chooses to hurt people and someone who's built to destroy them. Mike Tyson didn't choose violence. Violence chose him. And when you look into the eyes of someone like that, someone who's been to a place inside themselves you can't imagine, you realize you're not tough. You're just pretending. And the pretending stops working. Mike Tyson serves 3 years of his 6-year sentence. During that time, no one else tests him. No one challenges him. The story of what happened in the cafeteria on his first day spreads beyond Indiana Youth Center. Becomes legend in prisons across America. The man who broke the toughest inmate without throwing a punch. The man whose eyes contained something so powerful that seeing it was worse than being hit. But Tyson never tells that story. When people ask about prison, he talks about reading, about studying, about the time he had to think. He never mentions Curtis Jackson, never mentions the cafeteria, never mentions the 4 seconds that made him a legend behind bars, because legends aren't always about strength. Sometimes they're about the things inside us we're afraid to show, the parts of ourselves we keep locked away, because once people see them, they can't unsee them. And sometimes the scariest thing about a dangerous man isn't what he does. It's what he's capable of doing, but chooses not to. Curtis Jackson saw that capability. Saw in 4 seconds of eye contact. And it changed him forever. Made him request solitary confinement. Made him transfer facilities. Made him, eventually, choose a different life. Because sometimes the most powerful thing a dangerous man can do isn't hurt you. It shows you what hurt looks like when you stare into its eyes and realize you're completely unprepared for it. That's what happened in the Indiana Youth Center cafeteria on March 26, 1992. Not a fight, not violence, just 4 seconds of truth. For seconds that taught everyone watching that Mike Tyson's most dangerous weapon was never his fists. It was what lived behind his eyes. The thing he kept caged. The thing that, when released for just 4 seconds, made the toughest man in prison choose isolation over proximity. And the question that haunts both men for the rest of their lives. If 4 seconds of seeing it was enough to break Curtis Jackson, what would it be like to live with it every day? To be Mike Tyson and know that thing isn't just something you show people. It's something you are, something you carry, something you spend your whole life learning to control, because the alternative is becoming the monster everyone's afraid of. Curtis chose to run from it. Mike Tyson chose to live with it. And that's the real difference between someone who's dangerous and someone who understands danger. One sees it and runs. The other sees it in the mirror every morning and chooses to be something more than what violence made him. 4 seconds. That's all it took. For seconds to create a legend. For seconds to break a man. For seconds to show that the most terrifying thing about Mike Tyson was never his ability to hurt people. It was his ability to show people what hurt looks like when it's been living inside someone for so long it's become part of their DNA.